Hi everyone. Hello, morning, midday. Some of you joined. So we're here to see what happened with the hsbShare. So many thanks to Bill and Nicholas. They've worked very hard to it the past months. So everybody has seen Share 1, but now I'm going to show to you how Share version 2 looks like. So here we have the login screen. That's about the same one as we had in Share 1, but this is the Share 2. And immediately when we log in, we can see that our home page has become a dashboard. A dashboard where we focused on the possibility to customize it, to make it changeable and to make it really how the user wants it to be. We are creating dashboards and workflows to support several members from a team, but this is the home dashboard that is modifiable by anybody. How is this dashboard constructed? We focused on the customizability to it. So as a user, you're able to customize your entire dashboard. This begins with dragging and dropping. Sorry, my mouse isn't functioning properly. Dragging and dropping widgets from the dashboard itself. We've created a couple of widgets to support some workflows, and we're able to add these kind of widgets to the dashboard itself. For example, we have widgets where we can see some project info, some thumbnail, where we can have a 3D truck displayed, where we have a report, a map widget, and so on. The intention is to expand this list of widgets according to what the need is at what point. But I was explaining how the dashboard is constructed at the moment. So we can just add a widget to the dashboard. We can drag and drop it from one column to the other. And so we can customize it for each user to his own need. If we then, for example, log out and log in, this dashboard is being saved, and then again fully interchangeable. It's also possible in this dashboard to add columns and to remove columns as well, in order to be able to fulfill the complete need of the user. Also, we can drag and shift the width of the columns itself. And if, for example, we make this list a bit smaller, then the dashboard should follow along. Okay. As you can see, it's also possible to have this on a mobile phone or on an iPad as well. Responsiveness and customizability. I think that are two main words to be considered when we're talking about hsbShare. Then, of course, we need some project information and some project details, because that's what Share is all about. We can, for example, select a project itself. As you can see, the model itself has been loaded really fast, and then you can actually have an enlarged viewer where you can do all the actions that we were able to do in Share 1 as well. Recently, we've added the possibility to select some items in the building itself as you can see, these items are all being responsive. When we click on the model, we can also see it in the preview itself. And vice versa, but I'll show this later on.
And how does this look on, let's say, a smartphone? That would be cool. So if you resize the
viewer will resize as well, but yeah, you could. This is the size of a smartphone, but you could also have it like this, and yeah, you're able to work like this as well. What we also have here is the possibility to have some properties visible, to see some property sets as well. And then also we can select here in the viewer itself, and this will select also the beams. Select in the preview itself, and this will select beams in the viewer itself. So it's totally responsive. And as you have seen here, we have another function as well. We've decoupled the option to view or show and not show elements of the model. So we have the intention to expand the options of this this preview itself, because now this is a model that has been built up within groups from ACA, from IFC, sorry, and normally we will be able to, for example, sort on level or sort on type of elements in the drawing, and so on. But as mentioned, we are still working on completing this. Also, the view here still needs to be a little bit updated and a little bit more defined a little bit more nicely. Okay, so this is the big viewer. As you can see, it shifted along with the smaller viewer itself, but this is all responsive and all possible to work with. So what we've done, so we build up the basic structure of hsbShare version 2. This dashboard, this widget, this keyword of customization and responsiveness, to make it all really look good for the user itself, because the backbone, of course, was there already. But now we wanted to focus on a couple of workflows that could be used by people in hsbShare as well, but because that's important. We need workflows in that matter. So to give a little bit information about the first workflow that we were working on, it was actually the design review. The design review is a concept that we created where we have a couple of, let me first load it in the view itself. So we have here 3 widgets where we have on top all the commits for a person that has been working on. For example, multiple persons have been working on this one model to be constructed. But during the workflow and during the building up of during the design, there are a lot of things that need to be changed. And here we actually created a dashboard that is totally focused on this design review itself. To give a little bit more information of the design review concept, we've created these slides. So actually we wanted to create a single source of truth, a database where all our elements are lying inside of it. But we actually wanted to go away from the documents and sharing documents and files between customers or producers and so on. So we approach it a different way. So there's always commits of a certain drawing, a bit like coding, a bit like Git repository, where we store certain pieces of data. This means that, for example, in a drawing, there is always an initial commit. That first commit has a couple of data, a couple of elements attached to it, and for example, later on, there is a change for a model, a change request for a model, and that will result in a second commit. The second commit will only hold that single change set. That only hold the changes that have been modified, added, or deleted to that model. That's a bit external information on how to approach this this information that we are going to see on hsbShare. So as you can see here, we have the 6 change sets actually here inside this dashboard, and this is the entire model itself. So when we click on the first commit, we can see that the initial drawing we had 65 elements that have been added, and we can see in the viewer itself the 65 elements. Of course, here also we can expand it and further investigate this model to look really closely on what has been added, modified, or deleted. In this widget itself, we can see the different items that are inside this change set, and we have some information visible on these elements. For example, these are all CLT panels, and they have a POSNUM here in the data grid. Now, this is not really that special, but when we go forward in the second commit, we see that a little bit more information is visible, because we see that 13 elements have been modified and 3 elements have been added in this second commit. If you filter the 3 elements added, we can see that 3 CLT panels have been added to the model itself. And then if we see the modified elements, we see that 13 elements have been changed. And we can monitor exactly what happened at what time and by who. In the second commit, we added some openings, and an extra window was added as well. Now, in this fifth commit, there was a split up being done on CLT elements, new POSNUMs created, and new panels created for this wall as well. And then on the sixth commit, we saw that this piece, the deleted element, was removed. 2 elements were modified, so extended, and then a piece of information got added as well. We can click in this list and visualize each item.
How is this done? Let's say you do commit. What is it that you commit? It's model.
The commit is model exchange format, yes.
Okay. And when you do that commit, the system itself will look what has been changed, what has been added.
Not at the moment. So we don't have any tools developed to look at 2 different model exchange files and to see what happened there.
Yeah. Because let's say you have this list of POSNUM 69 has been added and this has been modified.
Yes.
So those are states that you have to put manually.
No.
Okay.
So what happened here? We used Revit to build up this system, and we've implemented inside Revit a way to only look at the changes that happened in the model. So what we did is we created an initial commit, so the first one from a model, an existing model, that resulted in an HTMLX file, and then we changed something to the model. We added some walls and so on, And the Revit engine kicked in and saw what changed or what was deleted or what was modified or added. So we saved that information, and then when a user pressed on the button, I want to commit my changes to the repository or a file, whatever, the only information inside that file was the model exchange data from the elements that were changed.
And what is happening in conflict situation where I have version 1 on the net, I download it, Chris also downloaded, I do my modifications, he does his modifications, I commit, he wants to commit. So what is the conflict situation going to be? It is always the case between the commit of Chris and the commit that I have made.
But
Well,
we always ignore your commit.
That's it. To resolve is very easy.
You're not a user.
yeah, no, of course, but we have to look.
Als een open goal.
We have to look further inside this development and what happens with branches and so on and the head of revision. We have to look into that. But yeah, of course, it's not possible to merge that geometry. So there will be the decision, either we save this one element from your commit, for example, or we save the element from Chris's commit. So that will always be a decision to be made.
And as if we look to a Git system, that is that resolving that decision has to be made locally.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So if the system itself, the direct view is not responsible for that.
Okay, so this has been the workflow about design review. I'll go further to the workflow of the truck unloading. First, why did we think of this design review? What are the benefits that we see from this workflow itself? So, as mentioned, we have always a correct model representation. We have one single source of truth, and we always know what changed, by who, and at what point of time. This is really critical information during the design process. Then the second benefit, of course, well, there are more, but one of the other benefits is that we only save the changes, and we are not holding account for files or entire models anymore. That also is, of course, a huge benefit. And then we can keep track of the acceptance history that it has been made for the master branch itself. So yeah, probably during design process there are people who are calculating clashes and calculating other stuff as well. Those phases need to be accepted, and we can always keep track of that as well. What we saw here in the design review, it might be a little bit more, yeah, not really hands-on. For some people, maybe a little bit far from their bed. I don't think that's that. That's a saying. So we have also created a workflow where we have a more hands-on approach, and we called it the truck unloading. Could also be another kind of unloading, but we called it this name. So what we have here is we created a couple of more widgets for it. And these widgets have, for example, an issue management widget, some viewer components, and also a truck composition. The truck unloading workflow is a workflow that is being used or could be used on site by the one who is building up the whole construction itself. For example, if the CLT builder receives his panels and wants to see how the truck has been built up and has been stacked and so on. How this looks inside Share, I can show you now. So this is the truck unloading widget itself. We are loading up a project. that this project has been defined in ACA. So we defined there some trucks. We defined there which panels should be on this truck. And for example, someone on site loads his dashboard. He sees this truck unloading. He sees that from his 5 trucks that should be delivered, there are 3 trucks already delivered. But for example, truck 5 comes up. He clicks on it, and when he clicks on it, he can see the panels itself. He can see a visualization of the truck, how these panels have been stacked on the truck, of course in ACA, and where all the panels from this truck are situated in the model. We can see here on the bottom that in this truck there are 63 panels itself. Those panels have states attached to it, and we can also say, for example, this first panel, we want to filter it in the panel list. We can see it in the panel viewer where we have a complete overview of how this panel should look like, and we can also see it if we change the selection. We can see the selection changing inside the model viewer itself. If you want to, we can expand each viewer to extract some properties, or maybe to play around with it, to have a better look at it. This is all possible. This truck has been stacked horizontally, but it could also be stacked vertically, where we have the same functionality here. For example, we can give a delivery date and set that delivery date, for example, on tomorrow. We can also say this truck has been delivered. We can say on this panel itself that it receives a state of, for example, missing, broken, or sent back. These states could be further. Some states could be further added. They might be not so relevant, or something else, but that's another thing. And then one of the main important things inside the whole HSB structure, hsbShare structure, sorry, there is the widget for issues and issues tracking. Right now, we can see that there are already some issues on this truck delivery and truck unloading dashboard. But we can also, for example, if you select this panel, we can add an issue to it and actually say, for example, that the panel, for example, say that the panel is broken, we need to ship it again, and then we want to assign it to the correct person in the team. For example, the producer itself, we send him, we say we assign it to him. We can add a critical priority to it. The state can be changed. There is a type that can be changed, and also it's possible to add some comments on this panel itself. You can see that the user committed panel on this date. We can save it, and during the save, there was an email sent to Torsten, which alerted him, there is a new issue for you. Somebody created a new issue on hsbShare with the link to this issue, with maybe a visual representation of this issue and some more details that he wants to see. Why I said that this widget is important, we could, for example, add this issues widget in our home screen. We could add it in the design review. We could add it in every other workflow where issue tracking needs to be done. And we can also create a list per user on what he needs to do as an action. Then I would like to inform you why we did this workflow. of course, because we can keep track of the status of each truck, of each panel, which is very important during truck unloading, but also for the producer itself, for the builder itself. There is an on-site mobile and a tablet access, as I've shown before during this demo. We've had the issues reporting that I've explained thoroughly, and then you'll always have the full transparency and up-to-date information provided to the correct people. Then I would like to say to the entire team, thanks again for listening. First of all, I would like to thank Nicholas and Bill again for their excellent work, and I would like to ask to everybody, please participate. If you have any questions, I can give some more information during this meeting.